Project Zomboid is a game where one simple mistake, a single lapse in judgment, and one wrong decision could cost you months of progress on a character. For example, a bite is always 100% fatal. And even with that in mind, few things are held in higher regard in Project Zomboid than fire. But today, we brave that fire. We will start with one simple rule. If we sleep, we have to light the building on fire. And then on days 15 and 20, as we get better at the challenge and a best strategy starts to emerge, the challenge will evolve and will become even harder. We're going to be doing a standard apocalypse playthrough. The only difference will be that days will be an hour long instead of an hour 30, simply because I don't want to be here forever. And to compensate that, we will be making loot far more rare. You can see my traits on screen here. My thought behind Restless Sleeper and Sleepyhead would be that I would just be able to sort of sleep a lot of the challenge away. Boy, how wrong I was. This combination of traits, as well as needing to light the building on fire every time we slept, would actually make for one of the most miserable challenges I have ever done. But we'll go over that in a little bit. For right now, please welcome Arline Firebug, the firefighter. I should have gone burglar, real talk. Really anything but firefighter would have been more useful, but it's kind of funny, so we're gonna roll with it. First thing you do in any game is make a sheet sling bag. This will allow us, of course, to carry more things. And right off the bat, I'm seeing those rare spawns in full effect. We found some perishable food, but that's about it. Normally we would leave here with some knives, maybe some cookware, a pan at the least, hopefully a skillet to use as a weapon, but we really just found some food, which means that we're gonna have to use a rock, which is not something that I've done particularly often. I think this is actually the first time that I've used a rock. Luckily, we have maximum strength, as we did take the strong trait, so our rock, while not a great weapon, is still actually pretty effective. I mean, humans have been using rocks as tools for who knows how long. Caving someone's face in with it probably has been done a handful of times as well. So we're just going to continue the time-honored tradition of that. While in the gameplay, you'll see me absolutely fighting for my life with this stone. That would be a good time to explain combat. Up in the top left, you'll see 3 circles. The top one will be my stamina. That's how much energy I have to do anything in the game. Could be walking, running, swinging this rock into zombies' faces. Pretty much everything is going to take stamina, so keeping this as high as possible is going to be very, very useful. Just below that, you'll see my tiredness. This is as empty as it's going to be for the entire run. I'm just going to tell you that right now, but that's just foreshadowing. Anyway, below that, you'll see the health. One of the advantages to being so strong is that we have to swing our weapon less times to kill a zomboid, which means we use less stamina, meaning we can fight for longer. And to that end, you'll notice in the background, I'm going to allow the zomboids to climb over the fence and then hit them while they're down. Hitting zomboids when they're on the ground is far more effective than trying to hit them when they're standing up, and overall just good practice to get into, as less hits also means you'll be breaking your weapons less. With that said, you'll notice where I would normally point you towards my weapons, the bottom of the screen is cut off. That is because my dumbass recorded 20 hours of gameplay footage with the bottom cut off. Not really sure how I managed 20 full hours without noticing that, but I am sorry. And if you don't like it, well, imagine how I feel. Moving forward, a couple houses later, I managed to find a toothbrush as well as some rags to use for any potential injuries or Molotovs that we'll be needing to use later. And don't worry about that, there will be plenty of those Molotovs used. As well as finally a mug to drink out of, meaning our character will be able to automatically drink when they're thirsty. Normally, I wouldn't mention something so small, but this is like the 3rd or 4th house we've been to, and I believe this is the first drinking vessel that we've actually found. So clearly it is a momentous occasion to be celebrated. We did a lot of fighting and a lot of exploration on the first day, and it was finally time to figure out where we wanted to bunk up for the night. Now, how I remember fire working in Project Zomboid is that it is an absolute force of nature. It'll burn down an entire block if you let it. It'll burn down an entire town in worst case scenario. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to spend my night because I need to light that house on fire as soon as we wake up. And to that end, we decide to go to one of the houses on the outskirts of town. My hope is that the pavement will sort of shield it from burning up a lot of the town, and I mean, it can't spread that far, right? But there were previous occupants that needed to be dealt with first. Luckily, somewhere along the way, we did manage to find a saucepan to use, so it was nice to have an actual weapon, and it's gone. You'll notice these zomboids are taking a few more hits than they were with the rock. This is mostly because our tiredness is getting a little bit higher. Character's getting a little bit eepy. You can see up in the top right, there are these circles underneath the clock. Those are called moodles. They'll essentially tell you how your character is feeling at any given time. You can see we have the tiredness moodle now. There are 3 states to that. This tiredness moodle is going to be one of the most important ones ones for us to keep in mind, along with hunger and thirst, but the tiredness, you're gonna see that up there a lot. At stage 1, the amount of tiredness that we have, we get a minus 50% penalty to our melee damage, which goes up to a 95% debuff to melee damage, as well as some other nasty things, such as making firearms less effective. So we're going to want to do our best to stay away from that at all costs, and to that end we will sleep for the night. When my character decides to wake up at 4 a.m., that is because the traits in Project Zomboid are very poorly explained. While Restless Sleeper just says that your character gets slow loss of tiredness while sleeping, what it really means is that you have lower sleep efficiency by like 10%. But most importantly, that your character will sleep for fewer hours each time you sleep. Whereas a normal character might sleep for 8 hours, this character will sleep for 4 to 6. But this is especially nasty because we took Sleepyhead. It means that we get tired much faster. So we have these two really nasty sleep related traits that I thought would sort of keep my character asleep as long as possible for each instance of sleep, when in fact it's doing the exact opposite. But per the challenge, we slept and we woke up, which means we need to start a fire in this house. How we're going to do that for the most part while the power is on is just put some food in the oven and leave it on. Eventually, it will catch fire. So I decided to put some food in the oven along with a hair iron and a magazine. Bro, I am literally ovening a magazine right now. You can't convince me that doesn't start a fire. The magazine and hair iron aren't actually doing anything. They totally should catch fire, but it's pretty much just burnt food at this point in Project Zomboid that will cause a fire. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but eventually, after literally 7 in-game hours, we would finally catch this oven on fire. Oh, there we go. All right, we're on fire, and we're already looking tired. That's probably fine. I need to find a place to sleep now, because I'm tired again. What are the odds the fire gets over to me when I'm just over here? I probably should be a little farther away than that. No, there's so many down there. Okay, I really can't deal with them right now, so we're just gonna hope the fire doesn't spread this far. Surely it wouldn't burn down this whole forest, right? Right? I went down the road a little bit to see if I could find a place to sleep, and I found one of the sketchiest houses. Under normal circumstances in a long-term playthrough, I would never sleep in this house. If you're a long-time Project Zomboid player, you probably know what I'm talking about. It just feels wrong. Well, that and I did just start a fire about a block away, but that is probably unrelated. We managed to take a nap of a couple hours. Per the challenge, we need to set this house on fire, throw in some ground beef, and now we wait. I guess we should probably take a look and see where our fire is. Oh, there it is. It is rapidly approaching. Okay, so the first fire we started is spreading like crazy. This is exactly what I wanted this challenge to be, and we're tired again. Okay, starting to notice a pattern. Somewhere along the way, we managed to find the all-important fashion, some arm warmers to solidify our MySpace scene early 2000s look, and a random beret. I just like berets. But let's go ahead and deal with that tiredness. Please just sleep. Like for a long time. Okay, well, I'm not technically tired. This character is actually starting to seem a lot like me throughout the day. I wonder if maybe I don't have these two traits IRL. That would actually explain a lot. I'm gonna be tired again by the time this fire starts. That is a fucking noise and a half, dude. It'll happen eventually. Is that enough for this challenge, by the way? I wonder. Like, I'm fairly confident. Oh, wow. It spread over here. Oh, my. Oh, glad it left this house alone. Wow, we got lucky. So it must have come down here, went across the street down here. Wow, it came up and hit the house next to us. All I can say is, yikes. It occurs to me that sound we heard earlier might have been a cow being turned into a beef patty, if you know what I mean. I then circled around and started to really realize how questionable this challenge might end up being. While the fire destroyed everything around the house that we slept in for the second time, the house itself still hasn't even caught on fire. Eventually it will happen, so just happen already. Luckily that situation would soon be rectified. What was that? Oh, fucking wonderful, it's still spreading. How this house has not caught on fire yet? Beyond me. Absolutely crazy work. I'm getting out of here, dude. 30 days is a tall ask under these conditions. I've been stuck in a loop of I can't get enough energy to do anything during the day, probably because my character's paranoid because there's fire everywhere, which is a reasonable, very reasonable complaint. Not saying they don't have a reason to be upset. Like, let's just get shit done. Okay, we've caught a handful of them on fire. Oh man, it just keeps getting worse. Okay. We ran into our first house alarm, and if you look up at the top right, we are very tired. Absolutely no way we're going to be able to fight our way out of this one. However, just a little bit to the east, I noticed that there's a fence. If I can get between this fence and the building, most of the zombies should be attracted to the house alarm, and I should just be able to hang out here. But as it turns out, this was probably the most useless fence in existence. Luckily, eventually the house alarm did stop, and we were able to lose all of the zomboids chasing us near the horseshoe, which is a bar, which I would love to get into, get some alcohol for those Molotovs. The only problem is that there are zomboids inside and out front of the building, and I really can't deal with them right now. I need some sleep. We are already dead tired again. Starting up the next day, we found another place to sleep, but our character only slept for a few hours and didn't even lose tier 2 tiredness, so our character is still very tired. But the house, we slept there, so it's gotta go. So of course we left food in the oven and turned it on, hoping that eventually this house would catch on fire. Not too long from now, we will find a way to remedy this question of whether or not these houses are actually being lit on fire with a mod. And I gotta say, it'll be really nice to actually be able to use the time that we're not dead tired. But for now, I still had my eyes set on the horseshoe. I want that alcohol for those Molotovs. I was able to take out a couple of zombies on the way there until eventually I decided to just try to sneak my way in. This did not work, but since I had a handful of them on me, I decided to try and lure them away through one of the houses. This also wasn't working. I just couldn't shake them. These zomboids were absolutely everywhere. So I lured them into the woods, which worked to some degree, but there were still a ton of them in front of the horseshoe. We spent that day slowly chipping away the zomboids in front of the bar until eventually we needed to find another place to sleep. Of course, we had to fight our way in. Absolutely nothing can be easy for our girl Arline here. Although I suppose I was able to take these fights one-on-one, which was really the only saving grace. We then dragged a chair into the bathroom as it was the only room that wasn't compromised in the entire house. The zomboids absolutely did a number on this place, but we need some sleep, and surprisingly enough, we actually got a solid 7.5 hours of sleep. Interesting that we would get the most sleep we've ever had on one of the least comfortable pieces of furniture we've ever slept on, but that is how this game goes sometimes, I suppose. I think this is the first time I haven't been dead tired. Well, I say that, and now I'm immediately tired. This is simply not sustainable. Luckily, we did manage to find a radio with the emergency broadcast station on it, so at least we have that. And then, I remembered that we had this kitchen knife, and I could actually go into stealth. It doesn't really matter how tired you are. A stealth attack is always a one-shot, so it is time yet again to embrace our inner rogue and go for a stealth kill. Fucking hate it here. After a few other houses, I was finally starting to get a good little reserve of supplies and food, and even a couple weapons to use. I realized I should probably have a contingency just in case I do catch on fire, so I decided to keep a glass of water on me at all times. If you don't know, in Project Zomboid, if you happen to catch on fire, you have a very short amount of time that you can actually use water in your inventory to put yourself out. I'm not entirely sure that this cup of water is going to be enough to do that, but it makes me feel better. I would also feel a little bit better if you subscribed, hit like and the bell. That way I know you like it, YouTube knows you like it, and it will actually show you my future videos, of which there will be plenty more challenges similar to this one. But anyway, it was about this time I was starting to really lose hope about getting into the bar, so I just sort of wandered into the cornfield. Maybe I could find a nice farmhouse or something. Farmhouses generally have very good supply. So with that in mind, I just started heading south, and then I headed south some more. Then I continued to head south. And then I just decided that I was going to head south until I found something. Followed a dirt road for a little bit, and we're officially on our wilderness arc apparently. And at this point, I'm kind of just wandering aimlessly. It's nice to not have to deal with as many zomboids out in the wilderness here, or at least outside of the more populated areas. When we stumble upon a warehouse with perishable food, great time to find this, as we'll have a ton of perishable food that will be going bad in the next couple days that we can just pig out on right now. In an effort to try and get some energy back, I decided to just sleep on the ground inside this little shack here. We would go through the warehouses tomorrow and pick out some of the food that we wanted. Although, to be honest, there was really no reason to do any sleeping. Somehow our character ended up being just as tired when they woke up as they were when they went to sleep. Literally got no fatigue back from that. So we collected some stones and lit the campfire inside of the building. In theory, should burn the place down. But after checking out all of the warehouses, our building still wasn't on fire, so we needed to enlist the assistance of some of the local Zomboid population. We then decided to look into some of the nearby houses before triggering yet another house alarm. Great luck on these. Well, I suppose that is a fantastic reason to continue our journey south with the quickness. About an hour or so later, we were headed to a farmhouse. You know the drill at this point. Clear out the zomboids, sleep for a few hours, regain just enough tiredness to make it so that we're not tired for like 5 minutes, loot the area, put some food in the oven, light it ablaze. Honestly, man, something weird's happened this playthrough. I'm 4 days in and I kind of don't care. If this character dies, dude, this is abysmal. I mean, that will fail the challenge, which is not great, but at least it'll be done. But I want to give it an honest try. I've made my choices. Now we get to live with them. So far, this challenge has got me feeling a very specific kind of way. You see, usually whenever I play Project Zomboid, I'm relatively well in control, and I feel as such. But there are a lot of factors in this challenge specifically that I can't really fix. I can't really deal with them. And I think that clip that you just watched perfectly encapsulates kind of my mindset at this moment. Sort of this cycle of being tired and not being able to fix it. As silly and dramatic as it sounds, it sort of does fill you with a sense of dread whenever you see a group of zombies. You know that they're going to take a great amount of effort to deal with, while them still being able to essentially end your run at any time. And it was in those moments that I kind of realized, like, I don't want this challenge to end necessarily, but at this point in the challenge, I am straight up not having a good time. So we continued down the long, winding road. Eventually, and I kid you not, from the time that we left Phallus Lake, an hour of wandering at 2 times speed, we finally arrived at the edge of Rosewood. We have access to a gas station relatively nearby, a lot of vehicles down the main strip. We just have to get there, but first we need to focus on this house here, and you're never gonna believe it. I think this house is safe. Oh, steak in here. Just take care of some of these problems real quick. Okay, looks like we will be making our way into Rosewood a little bit sooner than anticipated. I don't think I've ever showcased what we have to do to fight 2 zomboids at once. Generally, I try to avoid it if at all possible, but small pairs of zomboids are very common in this game. Although I gotta say, we did this guy real dirty. Unfortunately, there were plenty near the gas station, so that was really not on our radar right now. Luckily, I'm able to find a vehicle nearby that just needs a little bit of gas to get going, and that would allow us to use the vehicle to lure all of the zomboids away from the gas station, is what I would say if apparently I weren't feeling extra bloodthirsty today, so I ran my vehicle into them until they stopped moving. Ever since they made the ragdoll changes, it's impossible to actually get this strategy to work. Don't get me wrong, it was too strong, I get that. Look, I'm literally rolling over his head and he's not fucking dying. That's bullshit. Of course, we had to get out and polish a couple of them off, but after fighting all through the night, we would have access to the gas station free of zomboid influence. Now, if you played Project Zomboid a couple of times, you know that there's something that is really past due to happen. It was time for the chopper event. This is always a very interesting moment in any Project Zomboid playthrough. Do you utilize it to lure zombies away from a crowded area? Do you simply hide inside and allow the chaos to take place without your involvement? I decided to use the chopper event to lure some zomboids away. So we got a pretty good group of zomboids following us, and I was going to lure them out of town when, of course, another alarm went off, dividing the attention of the group, and I lost about half of them. So I had to go and round up the distracted zomboids. So I gathered the group, lure them down this road here, and it just ends. It does not have an outlet. What's worse, all of the surrounding area is just thick forest. I can't drive through here again. I need to deal with the horde of zombies that I have just created and cornered myself with. I really don't want to abandon this vehicle. I finally got one, so I need to figure out a way to deal with the situation in front of me. So I'm going to try to lure the zombies off of the trail far enough so that they don't follow me back into the town, just in case I have to bail on this vehicle. I stock up my bag on some of the most important items and some of the food that I have, and it is not very long until I decide that is a terrible idea. I am not going to do that. Plan B, we're going to yell a lot and run into the forest. Hopefully we can create a path through that we can make it back to town with our vehicle. If this doesn't work, we're just gonna have to abandon the vehicle. This was actually very successful, and we were able to make it out with our vehicle heading back to Rosewood. Been playing for a couple hours on this session, so I decided that this is a relatively nice, quiet place to call it a night. And, we'll pick this up tomorrow. And, the game had other plans. Starting the next day, of course, we sleep. Of course, we burn the house down. Much simpler in a microwave than it is in a conventional oven, by the way. I'm pretty sure this works. Oh, shit, that was fast. Can I pick that microwave up for later use? That was really effective. Oh, okay, it's gone. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. And it was when I was exploring the nearby house that I would realize the issue with this challenge on the current build of the game. I don't think that fire actually took. Huh. Well, looks like it got put out. Well, I lit it. That's fine. Bear in mind, at this point, I'm still operating under the assumption that a wildfire could happen anytime that I light one of these places ablaze. But, I mean, surely, we get some nice little fires going, and it's going to be a great time. It's fine, it's fine. And things are about to speed up. I'm not going to keep mentioning every single time that we sleep, but we do sleep here. We have the food to spare. We can throw it in the oven. And just next door, there's actually some inmate zombies. I want their duffel bags. That'll be a huge upgrade from our sheet sling bag, so we need full strength to manage that entire house worth of zombies, which surprisingly enough actually only ends up being the 2 of them, so maybe a little bit of overkill, but it's fine. What? Why did it stop? My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. In a nearby house, we managed to find some caffeine pills. Now, I was very excited about these, but as it turns out, if you're already maximum tiredness, they don't really help that much at all. Just 10% off of your tiredness. It also seems like these caffeine pills are less effective the less tired that you are, which pretty much means that the time that we would want to use them right after we finish sleeping would be the least effective time to use them. These caffeine pills are pretty much a non-factor through the entire round. Still on the lookout for some coffee though. Coffee might help out. We decided to bunk up at the school for a few days. Of course we had to clear the building out, but generally keeping the engagements one-on-one made this relatively trivial. And outside was actually pretty light on zomboids for whatever reason. Oh yeah, it was the helicopter event. During those couple of days, we read the entire library worth of skill books, at least the ones that we could read, and a few other books just to keep our character from being completely depressed. Luckily, we had some absolutely delicious microwave chicken nuggets to keep us fed throughout these handful of days that we were here. And when I say I read the books, I mean I read. That's it. I read, ate food, drank water, did not sleep, and as it turns out, there really aren't very many consequences to just not sleeping. Stats are pretty heavily drained in the melee category, but that's about it, to be honest. I think driving might be a little bit more difficult, but we're not driving around that much anyway. Generally, I don't want to do this. It feels a bit cheesy. It's kind of against the spirit of the challenge, in my opinion. But if I have skill books, I mean, I need to read them anyway, and I'm not going to read them out in the middle of a bunch of zombies, so this seems a bit more acceptable in my opinion, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. Our 15-day evolution of this challenge will essentially make this so that it is not even a strategy that we can do. It will help to combat the non-necessity of sleep, so that we at least still have to engage with that mechanic. Later that day, I kind of came to a realization in that I needed to do something about this whole oven situation. The ovens just weren't catching on fire as consistently as I would want them to. It was at this point I've decided to make it so that I know for sure that I am lighting houses on fire when I leave them, simply just because I don't know if the houses that I'm leaving behind are actually lighting on fire. I have been doing the action, though there's been a chance that they catch on fire, but I don't know if they actually are. So I have installed a mod that will make sure that this happens. we can now just straight up set things on fire. We also needed to figure out something for when the power shuts off. This covers that, as well as making 100% sure that we are abiding by the rules of the challenge. We no longer have to pray to RNGesus that the oven's gonna catch on fire, or spend valuable rested time waiting for it to do so. I then decided it was time to deal with the zomboids that we led away. Don't want them wandering back into town after all. And I think we're gonna use some fire. Just kinda fits the motif of the challenge. As well as, I mean, to be honest, I don't really care about anything on this block anyway, and I kind of just want to see stuff burn. So let's have some fun. At the risk of sounding a bit dramatic, this group of zombies would actually lead to a huge revelation later in the challenge, but not for the reasons you might think. But anyway, moving forward. After giving those zomboids the slip, I decided to stop by the general store to pick it clean, and we're doing really well on food at the moment. And when I say we were doing really well on food, I mean we were doing really well on food. Just because I can't have a base per se doesn't mean that I can't leave little stockpiles of food, and I would actually start doing that with various vehicles that I could find. Was even able to drive one of them to an auto shop so I can work on maintenance if I wanted to without having to worry about any of the pesky locals bothering me. Yeah, wow, that group is they're still on fire. Yeah, I think I'll come back later. And return later I did, but you'll notice there are less zomboids on fire this time. That is not supposed to happen. They are not supposed to be extinguishing like that. Yeah, as it turns out, for some reason, when I leave the area and come back, the undead would just sometimes extinguish themselves. Most of the time. Which just kind of goes to show how janky fire is after the fire updates in Build 42. But that doesn't mean that fire is completely useless. All of these zomboids are taking damage at least. We just need to hang around. Which, not gonna do that. Screw that noise. Instead, I spent the night at the Bright Flag Inn and Bar, pick up a couple bottles of alcohol for the Molotovs, and I decided to send the bar off with one of those Molotovs. Honestly, feeling kinda unstoppable. Not thinking twice about the fact that I am in fact very flammable. But you know what they say, pride cometh before the fall. Would that ring true for our girl Arline here? Well, we are approaching the 15-day alteration, so let's find out. It's time to finally go over what this 15-day evolution of this challenge will be. Sometimes when making these challenges, I like to check in once in a while and just sort of see how the challenge is panning out and make sure things stay interesting, both for you as a viewer and for me as a player. And I noticed that I was only really sleeping once every 3 to 4 days, which is a little against the spirit of the challenge. I was kind of bunkering down, kind of just not that interesting. The entire idea behind the challenge was to have to sort of be on the move, watching out for fires and stuff, and that wasn't really how this challenge was panning out. At least not after that first wildfire, which was a great time, don't get me wrong. And sure, I could just ban myself from doing the stuff that I thought was a little bit boring, but I think it's a little more interesting to sort of impose a new element to the challenge instead. And as we learn to face the tribulations of the challenge too learns to face us. Every night at midnight, we must light a fire wherever we are. This helps keep us true to the spirit of the challenge even if we're not sleeping, and keeps us from just bunking up in one place, as well as just makes more fire. I'm not a pyro, okay? I don't like fire that much. It's whatever. You like fire that much. Leave me alone, alright? I'm not dodging the allegations with what happens next, but I want to go to the sanatorium and light it on fire. I've just always thought it was kind of a creepy area, and the multi-level structure should burn real nice. But as it turns out, guys, I'm human. I'm in fact not infallible. Hello everybody, Newbornkilik here. I'm a dumbass and hit the replay buffer instead of the record button, so I just did like 3 hours of gameplay without actually recording it. It's really cool, and I'm super happy that it happened. Anyway, so I decided I wanted to go to the sanatorium and light it on fire, but then I got spooked off because there was a bazillion zombies and one of them was hiding out of line of sight of me next to my vehicle, and I just narrowly made that. So I just lit a zombie on fire, and you know, I'm sure that situation will take care of itself. So yeah, we actually had a genuinely close call. Not that you'll ever see it, you'll just have to take my word for it. I was about a frame away from getting hit. I won't say that it was going to be a bite, but his teeth were very close to me. After being spooked off of the sanatorium, I decided to head off to Riverside, where I would unveil the final evolution of this challenge happening on day 20. On our way, we stopped at one of the houses on the outskirts of Riverside for a good night's rest, or really a pretty poor night's rest, but we got some rest anyway. Then on the next night, we spent at the general store just on the outskirts of Riverside, all in preparation for day 20 and the final evolution of this challenge, the amalgamation and most difficult portion on the last 10 days. It would be a very tricky time for us indeed. You see, in 3 days, we would be locked to whatever area we were currently in. This is a town. Great, we have the whole town. If this happened to be, say, a farmhouse, we would only have access to that block to work with. My hope is to sort of centralize the action, forcing us to spend 10 full days dealing with the consequences of lighting fires all over the place. In theory, this final evolution would be the last piece of the puzzle to make this a genuinely difficult challenge. There's that asterisk. I don't know if I like the look of that. Oh, and of course the general store had to go. Although honestly, at this point, I was kind of just lighting fires for the thrill of it, even if sometimes it was a little disappointing. Later that day, we made our way to Riverside. Look out, little rabbit. With a little bit of extra rabbit meat, I then decided to stop in at one of my favorite base spots in the entire game, which actually ended up being a survivor house. Nice. Oh, I see there's a couple zomboids nearby. Shouldn't be that big of a problem. You know, there are actually kind of a lot of them here. Yeah, like a lot. No, like way more than where did they all come from? And yeah, we're still playing with fire. It might be a problem at this point. But anyway, the survivor house was pretty sweet. Had some guns, ammunition, some weapon blueprints, a lot of flaming zombies in the backyard, all the essentials to survival really. I then decided to cook up Gerald, that's what I called him, right before I hit the wheel of my vehicle. Oh, okay, there it is. And it just went out. Maybe you can hear sort of the disappointment in my voice, but just not getting that high off the fire that I was when we first started this challenge. I don't really know what's going on here. Anyway, we roll into Riverside about 2:40 a.m. and I'm just kind of scoping the area out, seeing if I can lead some zombies away from some of the shops. And yet again, another house alarm goes off. I have had insanely bad luck with house alarms. I'm used to having a couple house alarms, and even at pretty inopportune times, but I haven't even mentioned them all. It's just unreasonable at this point. But I suppose this house alarm does serve to group up all the zomboids anyway. So I just went on one of the side streets and held down a couple zomboids, and anytime that a new zomboid would approach my vehicle, I would just run it over too. Until eventually I think I had like 3 or 4 zomboids just hanging out underneath my car, which is actually pretty effective. Just run them over. I never would have imagined the solution to be so simple. Man, there's a lot of zombies here. I know it's just because they kind of grouped up, but when you can't fight any of them, life kind of fucking sucks, dude. And you can kind of hear it there. I'm kind of not liking how this challenge is panning out. I mean, being tired all the time is not a particularly fun way to play the game, as well as you've seen sort of what happens to a lot of these fires. They just kind of extinguish themselves. Now look, I could sugarcoat it, say I'm having a great time doing this challenge. I am loving it. Every last second of it was so much fun to make. You should like and subscribe. But that's just kind of fake. I like to share the journey when it comes to these challenges, the good and the bad. I was not having a good time. In the last probably 10 days, which I have zoomed through very quickly, it's because I didn't really do much. I was driving around, I was just looting things, I wasn't really fighting zomboids unless it was with fire. Oh my gosh, and everyone's on their way. Wow. Come on, just need to get one of you. Just one of you. Really? Brother. To the fire with ye. Oh, you're all done for now. We would then spend 20 minutes in real time circling these zomboids just to try and get them taken care of before eventually my vehicle was very low on gas. I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and use this as another stockpile. I'll drive it away a little bit, that way none of the zomboids will be attracted to it and I can have a stockpile that's, you know, flaming zomboid free. And as you may anticipate with what we talked about earlier, I drove too far away. All of the zomboids, every last one of them, extinguished. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined again. Because at that point I finally said, whatever, just get out the guns. And to be honest, we would be at this for a while. In fact, it was time for our midnight fire check-in. I think we got that covered for tonight. Well into the morning, finally we were done with this group of zomboids. What the? Damned. Although this was my first instance of having a gun jam on me, just kind of interesting that was included in the final kill of the group. We still had all these fence zomboids to deal with, but they just apparently don't want to be on the side of the fence. They can walk through that fence, but just not. Probably a mod, who knows. Either way, we just gotta sit here and wait for them to burn to death. Gameplay! And it is officially now day 20. With that, we are locked into Riverside. We cannot leave for any reason. Moving forward now, it is time for everyone's favorite game, Do You Look Left or Right? Here we have our first and only contestant alive, Arline, entering into what looks to be a dining room area. The question on everyone's mind, should she look left or right when entering this room? Leave your responses down in the comments below, and if you're right, I'll write your name on a flashcard and show it to my dog. Lock in your vote now. If you guessed the 5% of the room that would be covered if you looked right, you're correct. No, but we did about have a problem here. Ooh. What the fuck? Okay. Maybe it was a little closer to 2 problems. And, oh yeah, apparently the water and power went out at some point while we were on our trip, which is actually surprisingly fitting for a final challenge. We finished clearing out the house and made yet another delicious hot dog bun salad. Truly only the best culinary expertise is on display. Now see, this guy gets it. I then ran into yet another small horde of zombies, which is tragic because this is a single block away from all of that. Are you kidding? All of that I just did, and look at all of them. But that's alright, there are plenty of houses on this side. We'll go the other way. Just take out this zombie that wants a nibble, walk in the door, have flashbacks from a prior life. We explored a couple more houses, and as I mentioned before, we're doing really, really well on supplies at the moment. So we cooked up a nice buffet for ourselves, and decided to sleep in one of the nearby houses. Given that we were gonna have to light it up at midnight anyway, I decided to just go ahead and sleep. Throw in a random shout because I'm feeling extra zesty today. Moving a couple blocks over to the Knox Bank and a strip mall, I found 2 zombies, not much of a problem. We can take care of 2. Actually make that 3. 3 is very spooky. I think this was the first time that I actually tried to fight 3 zombies while at max or almost maximum tiredness. And there's a 4th one. Okay, you know what? This is actually fine. This is fine. We just need to be patient. Bro just rared at me. You know, it was a bit tricky, but we can take down at least 4 zomboids. We just need to be careful, of course. He said growing more and more confident in a video game you should never grow confident in. I then immediately got distracted from the strip mall and went on a killing spree. I guess I was looking for cars too, which we did manage to find one with keys. Luckily, we were able to siphon some gasoline out of a nearby vehicle. I'm sure the fumes we inhale from that are fine. And now that we have a vehicle, we can go anywhere we want. We could go all the way across town. We could stock up on supplies through some of these houses. We could even go literally half a block and stop at the Gigamart. Now, but we do need to pick that place clean. We did manage to find a couple cartons of eggs and cheese. Not sure how the eggs are still good, but I'm just gonna spoil it right now. We would have enough food until the run ends. Fun fact, there's probably about 20 or 30 of them behind this door, so we'll go ahead and leave them to it. While scouring through the Gigamart, I for some reason really got into the idea of making a loaf of bread. I don't really know why. I mean, bread's nice. I mean, after all, it is the best thing since sliced bread. I'll go home now. That was a terrible joke. Unfortunately, I wasn't even close to having the ingredients that I needed, so I decided to take my anger out on a nearby bush. As it was midnight anyway, we'll just light this fire for fun. And the first one's out already. Man, you know, I remember fire being an absolute force of nature, but it sure isn't acting like it. And at this point in the challenge, I didn't know that there was any rework on the fire mechanics. The next day was spent clearing out more of the business district so that I could get access to, well, to be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted access to at this point. I mean, like I said, I don't really want to just sit around all day. So I was generally trying to keep myself busy when, and you're not gonna believe this, when right behind Sheba Jewelers, we found the perfect car for our first challenge we ever did on Project Zomboid. The heater and glove box are both above 90%. If you don't know, the idea behind the first challenge that we ever did on Project Zomboid was to get a vehicle with all of its individual components above 90%. The catch being, in vanilla, we're not allowed to repair or change out the glove box or the heater in these vehicles. Most of that challenge was trying to find this vehicle right here. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty upset about it, to be honest. Would have saved me 20 hours of gameplay if I had just found this vehicle. Whatever, it's good. No, it's really good. In fact, it's so good, I'm gonna start a fire out of happiness. And whoa, would you look at that? It actually spread pretty well. Or at least it looked like it did. Absolutely ruined the roof. Didn't really do anything down here, which is kind of weird. Lit another group of zomboids on fire just to feel something, and then another group. It's a little frustrating watching me do stuff like this, knowing what I know about the fire mechanics and how this challenge turned out. I was still under the impression that fire would be spreading and taking up damage while I wasn't nearby, much as it does on a multiplayer server. So I would light these small groups of zomboids on fire and then drive off thinking I was doing something when what I was doing was wasting my damn time. Yes, a group of zombies has extinguished before, but I've also come back to a group of zombies still burning away. How am I to know which one of these is what is supposed to be happening and what is unintended Build 42 jank? Oh, would you look at that? It's arson o'clock. You can see in the gameplay, I'm kind of just starting fires now. I've come to the conclusion that they're not really going to be much of a factor, but I figure if I can light just one zomboid on fire, maybe we can sort of make something happen. This one was just for science. But even trees extinguish very rapidly. You know, trees, the things that are made out of wood. One of the most famously flammable things. Just sort of extinguish within a couple minutes. I tried lighting this on fire, I tried lighting that on fire, tried expressing my disdain for the trees. On that one, my keyboard died on that one, actually. So yeah, just on the list of things that you need to be worried about while playing this game, that is indeed one of them. I decided to take my anger out on this bush, because honestly, fuck this bush. Immediately noped out of a very suspiciously populated cul-de-sac, and decided, you know what, I haven't started a fire in like 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and do that. I rounded up all the zombies that I possibly could, led them to the edge of town, gave Smokey the Bear something to do, but then went off, looted a couple houses, gave this zombie something to do, but of course he didn't take the bait and decided to take a different entrance. It's interesting how they're so dumb, they actually end up being smart. Maybe unpredictable is the right word, but either way, avoided my trap here. So we had to set another one. I then, for no conceivable reason, decided to just walk blindly into this construction zone. I didn't even want to be in here, apparently. From there, things would escalate slightly. I wanted a slightly different angle of attack here, so I went around the block and realized that all of the zomboids were extinguished. Dad, I need to keep it 100% with you guys. I have never been this close to stopping a challenge midway because I was just unhappy with the results. I mean, think about what we have here. We have a challenge based around fire. The fire ain't firing, and I took these awful traits. Trust me, the urge to just run into the middle of these zombies was very strong. I came back the next day and immediately found another perfect vehicle. Well, it's fine. I'm really happy about it. We found another place to shack up for the night, and I thought I'd be a little extra spicy today, and I lit a fire on the second floor. We'll see what that does. It was nothing. Really nothing happened. And as much as I hate to say it, this challenge turned into a chore. I was just so disappointed with how this was going. Yes, we were succeeding, but it was just so tedious and so frustrating that nothing was catching on fire. And I mean, I was having a pretty okay time right up until the last group of zombies extinguished themselves. Then, something just changed. I realized this was just kind of a horrible time to try this challenge, what with the most recent changes to fire in Build 42, and you might be thinking, okay, maybe there's some mods messing with things, but no, I tried to get a fire going on a brand new world, it just wouldn't catch. I even went into the debug mode and started setting the land ablaze, and yet it just wouldn't. Something about fire in Build 42 is just inconsistent, buggy, and just really disappointing. And honestly, that's the worst thing for it to be, is disappointing. So I was sort of wandering around, wondering if I even wanted to continue this challenge or what exactly my next move was, when eventually I stumbled upon this basement in a house. But before we get to that clip, I want you to watch this clip for context.
Oh, he's gonna proxy. I can't do anything about it.
What the fuck?
You got me. Oh, you got me. I was genuinely worried that the challenge would be over. That after all this that we would fail. So I started a campfire and I just sat there. I stated earlier in the video that this challenge had me feeling a very strange way. I mean, back at the farmhouse, I felt genuinely helpless. I could barely take down 2 shamblers, and things were a little different now, but I still couldn't really deal with large groups on my own without resorting to using fire, which is the one thing keeping us from just sleeping the rest of the days away, because I knew as soon as I trusted the fire to go out and went back to sleep, inevitably that would be the end of Arline here. It just wasn't worth the risk. The temptation to have an accident and be done with the challenge was very strong, and it would be really easy to just have things end and I could finally move on. It would be easy to do, no one would blame me, no one would even know. Except for me. Making these videos really does ask you, the viewer, to trust the person making it quite a bit, and I could lie about any number of things and edit it to make it look true, but I wouldn't want to break that trust with you. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll hype things up and take some creative liberties in parts to help create a more compelling story, but if I say I completed or failed a challenge, I want you to know that I tried everything that I could, and with that, I either succeeded or I failed. It doesn't really matter to me which of those is true as long as it is the genuine journey to that conclusion. Started thinking about my own life. Started thinking about, with a lot of the things going on today, it can be easy to feel, well, powerless. Reminded myself that, yeah, there are a lot of things in life you just can't control, but there are always some things that you can. And the mark of determination is what you do with those tools, those things that you can control. The challenge may not be going necessarily the way that I thought it would. Damn it, we're gonna see this through to the end. We are going to make it to day 30, or this character is going to die trying. And it all came rushing to me. I have been practicing, learning, figuring out how I can use this fire to my advantage. And the interesting thing is, these traits that I took were actually perfect for this challenge. I had been fighting against my character's nature. I had been fighting against what made Arline Firebug Arline Firebug. In the past, I had been taught to fear fire, but it was now part of my character's identity. Fighting things with melee weapons took so long. Using firearms would of course just draw in a huge crowd, but maybe that's exactly what I need. The best time to use fire is in a large group. And while yes, being tired does make you much less effective with firearms, the constant chip damage from the fire might actually cover that weakness. And it was with this difference in mindset that I set apart for the last few days of this challenge. I'm done running, and I was going to destroy them all. Hi, Newbornkilik here. I would like to take a moment to say, what the f is this little wall here? Who built that? I want names. I'm just gonna walk away. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna go. I'm not. I know when not to push it. This is one of those times when you don't push it. I'm never going back to that house. At least I got my sugar cubes out of it. That's really all there was in this house, except for a little bit of trauma. Mostly of the blunt force variety. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this one. In one of the nearby houses with some very precarious Zomboid placement. We actually managed to find a generator. This is going to look very pretty in the back of our van and not be used at all. You know, my vehicle's just not running as well as it used to. We should probably check on the condition. Oh, would you look at that? Well, the condition of the battery is at 100%, but there's only 40% remaining charge on it. I mean, the hood's a little bit dinged up. Passenger side window could use a little bit of work. Oh, yeah, no, just casually the perfect vehicle for our first challenge. It's fine. I'm not upset at all. After that, we stopped in at one of the local bakeries, found almost all of the stuff to make a couple pies and some cookies. I then, at that exact moment, decided that was going to be my little side quest for the rest of this challenge, was to make these cookies. All we needed was a fork. I remember having a fork somewhere in my supplies, but I could probably just go find another one. Surely that wouldn't be a problem. And thus we ventured back to the residential district to find our fork. I got so distracted looking for this fork that I didn't even realize it until sitting in my vehicle a little bit later, but we had hit day 30. The challenge is over. You know, we've kind of been through a lot, and it's maybe even a little bit bittersweet that it's actually over. It was a bit of a roller coaster for me, to be honest. There were times when I genuinely wanted to just give up this challenge, but then there were also moments where I would look over at the clock and hours would have passed. I guess that's just the power of Project Zomboid. I mean, I love this game, and I love doing challenges on it. Thank you everyone for watching. At the end of it all, we were able to complete the challenge even as it evolved, even as it tried its best to stop us. I was genuinely starting to have a good time towards the end. You know, there's something, I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but I feel like I'm forgetting something. Right, I left food on my multiplayer server. I should probably go log in and turn that off. Huh. Interesting.